Pelicans improved to 21-12 with a 113-93 victory over the Indiana Pacers, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media, located at 918 Porter Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. And be sure to mention we sent you Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media. Chris Connor, Cheddar Chaz joining for the recap. Chris, we'll start with you. One of the most impressive wins of the year, given the circumstances. No Brandon Ingram, no Zion Williamson, no Herb Jones, no Trey Murphy, no Dyson Daniels. So now you get Willie Hernan-Gomez into rotation. You get Kyra Lewis. You have to start, Jose, CJ, Jackson Hayes at the 4.
Yeah.
One of the most impressive wins tonight of the season.
Yeah, it was nice to see. To be honest, they've had a lot of these different kind of wins. Maybe, you can add a player or subtract a player here or there throughout, but they've had a lot of these different wins. I dropped a video this morning, kind of pertaining to that, about Jackson Hayes' game that he had against the Thunder and the little small stretch that he's been on. But tonight was no different. Different guys. And, it's crazy what a slight improvement in talent and just overall chemistry and confidence together can look like. Certain guys just look, even in a small sample size, they look way better than what you kind of used to, knowing where to be, knowing how to play. And that allows so many different individuals to step up and step into a role, whether they're minutes of promise night to night. And a lot of these dudes gotta find a way to produce in those minutes because they fighting for opportunities and money, so it's a very interesting mix, but great win.
Chaz, on our podcast, we call it how we see it. If you're bad, you're bad. If you're good, you're good. Lately, we've called out Coach Green for certain rotations, whatever it may be. But you got to admit, Chaz, you have to admit he has his guys ready to play 1 through 15. It doesn't matter if it's Kyra Lewis, Billy Hernan-Gomez, Jackson Hayes being inserted in the starting lineup. He gets his guys ready to play night in and night out.
I don't have to admit that because I totally disagree. I think tonight they were ready to play. I think they showed up tonight. Way to redeem yourself after a bad game. But I will say this, even with the way the game started, a guy I got to give some credit to is CJ. I thought CJ was attempting to make the right play a lot of times with feed and JV. Just the pass kind of aired a little bit, but the idea was it was right there. Like, he made the right decision. Thought to Willie's credit, I thought he called the timeout the right time in the second. Called it, didn't wait for the lead to totally deteriorate. Now, I thought that was the most impressive thing I saw all night. Was really impressed by some of the actions the guys were diving. There was a sequence to where I forget who. I think Graham was on the corner on the wing, and he gave it to Jose, and Billy dived at the perfect time, and Jose swung at the Naji for a big 3. And I was like, yo, that was just a beautiful brand of basketball. So just an applause to the staff and the guys for being ready tonight.
Yeah. Let's talk about, Chris. We talk about, it's hard now to talk about trade targets for this team because, we want to take this team to the next level. But I can't tell you how important it is for Devontae Graham and Jackson Hayes to be playing good at this moment in time right now. I see you rolling your eyes. I'm not saying that I'm just saying that you get this type of – listen, we've been hard on Jackson Hayes, but these last 2 or 3 games when he's had opportunities to play, he's done a lot of good things. That block in the first quarter tonight when he just pinned it against the glass, it went the other way. Yeah, I mean, he's also slot cutting from the corner. Is it starting to click a little bit for Jackson Hayes?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's the same thing
I don't think you can really answer it, mainly because we've seen this before. And the interesting part about Jackson is that every time he does his routine, he adds a different act to the bag when he comes back, right? So maybe last year it was something, closeouts defensively. Maybe the year before that it was 3-point shooting. This year, he looks a lot smarter and a lot more comfortable. And when he's able to do that, some of his underrated gifts shine. He's he doesn't get enough credit for how good of a passer he is. Like Jackson has really good feel for being able to catch and make the right pass, whether it be slot cutters, whether it be a bounce pass, whether it be to the opposite corner. Just when he knows what he's doing, he's completely locked in. But you mentioned Devontae and you mentioned Jackson, and I know a lot of people this is the perfect time for folks, and this is a negative. The perfect time for folks say, hey, I told you guys, this team is deep. You don't need to trade or move anybody. That is not the reality, especially if you know, and a lot of us in here know, there are a lot of people in that building around that have been waiting for certain guys to play well and really show what they can do for them to be assets down the line. Regardless, I'm happy that they're playing well. And whatever their future is on this team, I hope that we can continue to see more of what we've been seeing, as of late.
Yeah. Chaz, another guy, it was good to see him. It should, I think the Pelicans Twitter tweeted this out tonight, but Kyrie hit a three. It was the first time he scored inside the Smoothie King Center in 338 days. You got to feel just really good for a kid that had a devastating injury, a torn ACL, and build his way back. And then for him to, I'm not saying this was like a highlight box score, game for Kyrie, but 7 points, 16 minutes. He's been bouncing out of the G League back and forth. It was good to see him on the court tonight.
Yeah, I would say independent of anything he contributed on the court, just coming back from a devastating injury like that, especially at such a young age.
Yeah,
his career has been nothing but turmoil since he's got into the league. Drafted during COVID year, different head coaches, just devastating injury. Guy just couldn't catch a break, man. So knowing all that he had to battle through with the rehab and not getting minutes last year prior to getting injured, it's just happy, to see that guy out there, man, doing what he loves to do. Still looks fast, still has that explosiveness. Yeah. It's interesting that his debut was against Tyrese Halliburton. I
thought about that tonight. I didn't think about that. Tyrese Halliburton, for you don't know, was drafted the slot before to the Sacramento Kings in the 2020 draft.
Yeah.
Justin, can I add something to what Chaz was saying there? About Kyra? I do want to point out with box, listen, 7 points, him playing the most minutes he has, I believe, all season is great. But what stuck out the most and was really good for a dude that's coming back from that kind of injury, or just where he's at in his career, with the future being, completely up in arms as a former lottery pick, he just looked confident. Every time he got the basketball, whether it was a step in midi, confident in it, very sure of what he wanted to do. The corner three, finishing in traffic, which is something that we've always, for a guy that as fast as he is, as athletic as he is, you've been wanting to see that better. I mean, the minute he stepped on the floor, he jumped off the screen for someone I hadn't seen. Like, you wouldn't have been able to tell me he's still working his way back, and that was good to see. I don't know what it means for a long term, and even if it's just for a night, that's as good for a dude like that as we've been needing to see that confidence continue to build.
Yeah, you could tell the team, the staff loves Kyra. They're always happy when he's in the building. Chaz, I was actually thinking about what you had said previously on a couple other shows. You remember that time Kyra, here's Ross Thibodeau joined the show. Remember the time Kyra was actually he couldn't bring up the court, so he had to give up to Garrett Temple. And at Chris's point, he was waving people off tonight. He looked confident. He looked like he was ready to go. Ross Thibodeau joined the show once again, presented by Company Burger, located at 4600 Ferret Street. Chris, another guy you and Lito have been talking about, Jonas Valanciunas, will go Chris and Ross. Another double tonight, his 300th, I believe, in his career.
Yeah.
What's not talked about enough with him is that dude shows up no matter what, night in and night out. I've been tough on him. A lot of the fan base has been tough on him. But no matter what, that dude's going to lace him up, and he's going to give it his all.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the struggles that he has against certain matchups. His availability is probably working against him right now, right? Where he just refuses to miss time, refuses to let the smallest of things get to him. Headache, bone bruise, whatever your stomach flu, whatever Jonas is going through, you just can count on him and pencil him in the start lineup. And against a matchup like tonight, where I wondered early on with some of the ball movement and the way that Indiana typically shares the ball and attacks you from outside, I wonder if this will be a Larry game. But it wasn't, because he did what he was supposed to do, dominate the paint, dominate the boards, and then Indiana has to be the one to end up making the changes. And that's all you really want to see from this team. You want to see the Pelicans be the ones to force teams to switch styles versus it being in the inverse. And shout out to Jonas, man, for having a career accolade tonight, 20 and 10, and again playing better as of late since the last negative conversation that we had about him, which will happen again. It's a part of it, but good for him, man.
Ross, he was second in the team in assists tonight. Jonas Valanciunas, second. He had 5. CJ had 6.
Yeah, I mean, he played well. Like, we were there. You hit it on the head. He shows up, and once you get to a certain level of this league, I think we've all seen it, even with some of our own guys. Best ability is availability, right? And if nothing else, even for the obvious, I won't say downfalls in his game, but the obvious negatives to his game, the one thing you can count on is he's going to show up and he's going to play. He never gets hurt, knock on wood. Shows up and he plays hard. Doesn't always be as successful as I think we would like, just because the matchups don't work for his style of play all the time. But he's a guy you got to respect. I like having him on our team just because you be out there and watch him. He plays hard. He gets banged around. Never quits playing. Seems like a good guy. Yeah, I really like. I liked watching him tonight, but I just respect the shit out of him.
Yeah, I mean he just never misses anything. I don't know how many games he's missed since his Pelicans first started, but it's not a lot. Chaz, another guy, we got to talk about CJ McCollum, but not going to talk about offensively or what he does. But I think this is a kind of a big stat in which we talked about before the beginning of the year. CJ McCollum's free throw shooting. I think he shot a career worst 68% from last year. This year he's shooting 83% from the line. And it's 29 of 33 in the month of December, which is at an 88% clip. With free throws, I feel like it's a confidence thing because he's such a great shooter, but we couldn't figure out why he was such a great shooter and why he struggled at the free throw line. Well, it seems like he's fixed something. I don't know what you're seeing. Is he getting his legs back? But CJ McCollum looks like he's in a lot better groove over these last 7 to 10 days.
From the line specifically?
Well, just both. I mean, his game looks a lot better, and from the free throw line. Because you had mentioned it a while back. He struggles from the free throw line. He's been really good over the last month.
As pertaining to his game specifically, I would say he's in a position that he's familiar with as the number 2 option. I think that has a huge part to do with it. To Jonas's credit, can't make the club in the tub. Jonas is probably the worst guy to have on this team. If you're a guy who misses a lot of games, it makes you look bad. But to CJ's credit, especially a game like tonight, stepped up, did some great facilitating, knocked his free throws down. Again, I felt like early in the game, he was trying to get the ball to JV, made a lot of good decisions. I felt like rebounded. I was really impressed with some of his rebounding tonight. You just saw all the
7 rebounds.
And they were noticeable rebounds. You just saw a very smart basketball team tonight. Could be a flash in the pan. Could be. I mean, it could be a changing of the guard. As far as things clicking for guys. But you saw Jackson Hayes boxing out. So Devontae Graham always plays really solid defense. But you saw guys not forcing the issue more often than not tonight.
Chris, you ready for this stat?
Listening.
Jackson Hayes 9 rebounds tonight.
What's man, like it's crazy that the
3 blocks.
No one can see what I made my name today. It's not trade value. Listen, it's a weird situation to be in where we've been talking so much about what this team, like the finishing parts of this particular team should look like, or what's going to help them with what we've seen so far. And there's still a lot of questions And now you get an opportunity to see Jackson play well again, and some of it being at center. I don't know what to make of it, because it's clear that he's an individual. He just does things for this team when he's completely locked in that no one else can do currently on the roster. But I mean, at worst, he is really catching the eyes of a lot of teams, and he was already around the league. And if the Pelicans look to make a move, he should once again be a hot name, as he was last year. When we were talking about him or no, right? That was the conversation, and then Jack just took off, and it was like, all right, well, you can't trade him now. But I'm just happy. I'm happy he's playing well, and hopefully this leads to him, turning that corner like we've seen some other big men going into that second contract and beyond, wherever it is.
Yeah, Ross, you mentioned to me tonight, we went to the game together. It looks like he's starting to figure it out. I feel like every year he goes through the same thing. He has a horrendous October and November. Then he starts figuring out December, and then everybody's in on Jackson Hayes. Should we temper expectations? Does he play? I want to hear Chaz's thought too. Does he play with a fully healthy roster?
I will. I'll leave that second question to Chaz, but I will say this, and I told you that I said this at the game. I think this was the best defensive game he has played in a Pelicans uniform, hands down. It was the first time that I've seen, and look, I'm sure there are people that have watched more games than me. I think it's a very small list of people, but I'm sure they're out there. Tonight is the first time, and he did it multiple times, where I saw him off the ball as not even a secondary, as a weak side defender, come in and make plays. He showed more basketball IQ tonight than I've seen 3.5 years of just understanding what's going on, understanding what the other team is trying to do, understanding where the weaknesses are and how to exploit them. He made more plays from the weak side tonight than I'm serious than I've ever seen him make. I think it was his best defensive game. I don't even care what he did on offense, because he's always going to kind of do the same stuff on offense. He's going to get some putbacks. He's going to get just the fact that he gets out and runs hard. He's going to get a dunk or two. I don't even care about any of that. Tonight was the best I've seen him play in terms of understanding where to be on the defensive end. And if Willie has shown one thing in his year and a half of a coach, he's not going to play guys that can't understand what the hell they're doing on defense. So, look, what that means for his trade value, whether he plays when everybody's healthy, I don't know. I think he does. I think there are definitely opportunities for him to play when everyone's healthy if he's going to play how he played tonight. But in any case, just seeing him grow, and maybe it was a flash in the pan, but seeing him grow and seeing the way he played tonight at least gives me optimism, whether it's here or somewhere else, that at least he's like getting better as a player.
Chaz, fully healthy, does he see the court? Because he brings something different than Larry does, and this is not a knock towards Larry or anybody or even Billy. Yeah. It's just he's such a freak on both ends of the court. Oh, there's Chris Connor. Then I lit up. He's incredible. If he's going to be able to be that kind of, I guess, rim protector, that's what this team needs.
Well, I think truthfully, it would boil down to Trey's minutes, Jackson's minutes, or JV's minutes, because we know like Larry is pretty much like glued, and he's a staple in this rotation with Willie. So his minutes are now up for discussion. So it would have to be Trey's minutes, Larry's minutes, or who did I say? Some of JV's minutes. Some of JV's minutes gets trimmed.
Chaz, I mean, it feels to me and I'm sorry to cut you off. It feels to me like JV, right? Because there's clear matchup things that Jax does that JV doesn't. But I'll let you continue and expound on where you were going.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think fully healthy is very difficult to maximize JV. So you would need a guy like a garbage man type guy like Jax, like rim runner, rim defender, guy with switchability. It's hard to maximize JV offensively when this roster is healthy. So you would see him take some of JV's minutes. If you were going to continue to see JV get the same minutes, I think Trey would probably be the more obvious guy just due to a lack of positional versatility. again, Larry's minutes ain't going nowhere if he's healthy, in my opinion. So yeah, I kind of think Jax, like even with the best case scenario, us retaining Jax for decent contract. If you're willing to punt, 20, 30 games every season on him, to start the season, it's cool, but he is like a one of a kind guy out there. 9 times out of 10, he steps on the court, he's going to be the best athlete. That's what makes it so frustrating, like to just accept the sunk cost.
Justin, but yeah, and before you get going again, it's when I think about it, Chaz and Chris, I think you guys both pointed this person out. And I'm not saying, hey, Jackson does all the same things that Mo Bamba can do, but on the defensive end, the way he played tonight, I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of being a deterrent at the rim, and more so than that, the ability to run. He can, I hate to use the term because it's a weird football term, but like he can stretch the floor in transition in a way that obviously Valanciunas never will be able to, but even in a way that Larry isn't. And so I guess as I think about it, right, we've all sort of not vouched for, but we've all said like, oh, Mo Bamba would be an interesting player on this team. Well, like you're not going to give up Valanciunas to get him, right? And you're likely not going to give up Larry to get him. And so let's just assume in a hypothetical that you got a Mo Bamba type. Well, I think if Jackson plays the way he plays tonight, whatever minutes we would be seeing Mo Bamba step into is likely the same type of minutes that Jackson could see if he continues to play this way. Whether he can or can't is a totally separate question for me. I'm still low optimism that we'll see this consistently because we haven't seen it yet. But I guess that's where my mindset was.
Chris, does it matter that Jackson can't shoot threes? I mean, he's just not. He just can't shoot threes. Does that matter to you?
No, when you're that kind of athlete, all you have to do is move off the ball. You know what I'm saying? You put yourselves in the right position. People, when you have that level of athleticism, it changes the way people look to defend or guard you, and so on and so forth. When he gets any type of head full of steam, he's trying to dunk on someone. But if he puts himself in the right position, it's going to allow him either to get an attack at the basket or being able to find someone else, like we've seen him do when he's simply just moving and not being stationary. Antonio Dames talked about it. Me and you talked about it. A lot of the cutting that he did before versus what we saw last year, especially in the playoffs against Phoenix when things didn't go well, he sat in the corner. So no, I don't think. I mean, it's a luxury to have for a guy like him, and what this team needs, depending on if you use him in the right spaces. I don't see it being a need.
Yeah, Chaz, last thing we'll wrap it up here, but I had a tweet yesterday. I looked at all of our Christmas Day records from about 2012. We had some wins with 5, 9, 8. We're talking 8-22, 9-21, things like that. Last year at this point, we were 12-21. It's basically been flipped. If we're 21-12 now, where can this team go from here? Because they continuously win without their two best players night in and night out. Can this team figure it out with those two guys in? Because you're a big guy that says, well, we need to see what this team is fully healthy, because I think there's still a lot of questions remaining on what the rotation and lineup should be moving forward. Looks like Brandon Ingram's starting to get back, got some work in tonight. Zion Williamson should be back on Wednesday or Friday. What does this team just need more games together? Because there's not a lot of time left for the trade deadline.
Truthfully, I do think this team they need significant. Not just more games together necessarily, even if they didn't have all the games together, but there was a certain amount of buy-in from certain guys, like, I'm comfortable and content playing this role, or I'm comfortable and content playing that role. That way, when I come back, it's like a seamless transition. I think if that was more of a thing, then it would be, it would be less of a question. I still question what this team's identity is. Like tonight, it looked like a super efficient, smart team, and when I don't believe them to be that. And they could play against OKC and they're just knocking down a bunch of threes, and you're like, that's not how we play, really. So it's just, there's really no identity just yet. So I think you have to look, tonight, great win, but the ceiling of this team lies in those three guys figuring it out. So I think you have to see them on the floor together consistently to know where this team is headed. To even know what you, I don't think you need to know what you need, but you do need to see them consistently to figure out this team's ceiling.
You just need to know who they are.
Yeah, they just need to know who they are, basically.
Yeah, no, I was just going to point something out. Early in the year, I think there were a lot of questions about CJ, and just pulled it up. October 29% from three, November 37% from three. He's now, after tonight, for December, over 40% from three. I think there were some question marks there. There were questions, right? I think a few of us said, trust him that the shooting will come around. He's a career 40% three-point shooter. I just wanted to point that out as a guy that's starting to get going. I think he's now, back to the mean for his career. So that's a positive as we move forward. But I did want to just pose the question to Chaz, just because you've been hard on him this year. Who do you give credit for the win tonight?
Circumstance.
There's only one. There's only one answer. So I just want to hear. I just want to hear what you. I just want to.
You know what?
Real quick.
You know what? It's funny. It's funny you asked me that, because I hope y'all don't mind. I have a guest on this show, because I'm hard on people sometimes.
Here we go.
Who do you give credit for the win tonight? Circumstances.
No, look at this.
Look. This is because I knew this was going to come up, right? I'll say this. This same team, fully healthy, got curb stomped by the Pacers the last game. This same team, fully healthy, got curb stomped by the Portland Trail Blazers, minus Damian Lillard, minus Nurkic, minus everybody, right? I can't give Coach that much credit for knowing when to just knowing when to call a timeout, because that's been my main
he called two good timeouts. You admitted to it.
He called two of them, and
he got into Billy's ass. On the other
one was really it was really audible that he went after Billy. It was really audible, but I'm just like Jackson Hayes.
The timeout in the first quarter, was a great timeout, and after he called that timeout, we went on a big run. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying, and look, and I told Justin this before the game. I said tonight's a culture game, right? Well, it's not a culture; it's an organizational game. Good teams, right, with good players, are easy to evaluate. They usually win most games. If you have better players than the other team, more times than not, you're going to win. You may lose here and there, but overall, you're going to be in the playoffs. Yada yada yada. I felt like tonight, and I'm not putting Willie Green in this group. Okay. But what I'm saying is, when I think about over history, teams that generally win when their players are out, you think about Spurs, the Heat tonight. Right? Yeah. The Heat tonight, the Mavericks when Carlisle was there, always kind of had these weird teams, right? But then it's like, oh shit, they still play good. There's a handful of teams that, because the organization is pretty good, they seem to draft okay. The guys at the end of the bench, when they have to play, they step up. Tonight, to me, felt like a thumbs up for the organization, because all of the guys that don't always play a lot, they have to be ready to play. When the good guys get hurt, they get COVID, whatever it is. And me and Justin, before the game, I said, this feels like a game that I think we're going to win, because the organization is in a different spot today than it was 2 years ago. There are now expectations. There are now requirements of the guys that are on the end of the bench that don't play every night. And I'm talking about the Hernan Gomez, Devontae, those guys, Kyra, all those guys that we just gave credit to, that when it's their time, they're ready. And yes, they're professionals. I understand it's incumbent upon them to be ready. But I got to give credit to Willie Green for making sure those guys, and this doesn't always carry it over to playoffs. I'm not saying we're going to win the title. But what I am saying is, for me, there's a lot of optimism that over the course of the next few years, no matter who's in, who's out, everything else, like this, that to me, we now look like a team that you can pencil in as a consistent middle of the road at worst, 5-6 seed moving forward, because I think we're going to win a lot of games no matter what.
Jarrett literally joined the stream from the call. What a we're literally wrapping up with Jarrett. But Jarrett, why don't you close us out tonight? Fantastic win. I'm putting you right on the spot. You're in the car. What'd you see?
Too.
Team win tonight.
Hold on. What you said, Justin? Ross said something crazy. What you said?
We're literally wrapping up. So you're our final thought tonight. You're literally joining us from the car. Team win tonight. Would you say?
I I saw a couple good things. I saw Naji playing like really free and open. I saw a concerted effort to give JV the ball when he has a mismatch. I think the defense was really important, right? You got to think about the Pacers, which were fourth in made threes in the NBA. Now they're sixth after facing the Pelicans. They averaged 14, almost 15 almost 15 made threes a game. They had 9 tonight. Were they just missing, or was the Pelicans defense actually good? And I think they were there a lot of the times. I mean, a lot of the times we were late on threes. They made us pay the Miles Turner threes, right? So you weren't going to keep that team down for long, but I think they made a concerted effort to run them off the three-point line, try to get them downhill, and kind of contest without fouling, right? Jackson Hayes was going up vertical a lot. Even the foul that he called on Naji late in the game I think he was vertical. Jackson with the two-handed palm block, like there was a lot of chase down blocks. So I thought that was just a concerted effort to do like little things. Great team rebounding, right? It wasn't just, hey, leave it to JV, allow him to rebound everything. Like, no, I think Jackson ended up with 9 rebounds. So, like, I think we did an all-around good job on the little things tonight.
Yeah, we just literally highlighted that. Chris, would you still trade for Miles Turner? Is that a thing? Because I know you were talking about what are we fighting about today on Twitter.
I would still. I mean, I don't know the price, but yes, I would still trade for Miles Turner. I'm not pivoting off that. I would.
It really was one game, yo.
Yeah, I mean, this same guy had a career night against the Pelicans. I mean, I would trade for a lot of guys still. I'm not like they beat immediate. The Pacers are coming back down to earth. They were supposed to be a bad to mediocre team. Some nights, they're inconsistent. They're young. They're mediocre to bad, depending on who they're playing, unless it's the Lakers or unless it's the Pelicans earlier in the year. And look, the Pelicans will continue almost. If we go out there, it just feels like right now, us 5, okay, Ross, U.S. Center. If we go out there, 9 times out of 10, if they're going against a bad or mediocre team, the Pelicans are going to make it competitive. If they don't come away with the win, I'm not concerned about that anymore. It's the ceiling, this core getting together, and what are that beyond this? It's what I want to see. And if Miles Turner helps that, and it doesn't come at a ridiculous rate, count me in.
I like it. We play Wednesday against the T-Wolves, once again presented by DraftKings, Company Burger, New York Life, and Birdsall Law Firm. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Boot Crew Media and the NBA. Bet $5. Any new user, you can win $150 in free bets by betting on any NBA team and use code BOOT. That's right, $5 will win you $150. So